Okay. So I appear to have guests for this one. So, welcome to whatever the hell I'm calling this. Arthur, please stop biting that, sir. Hold on. Oh, sure, you're wondering about now I'm going to put you on camera. Smart man. Okay, so, welcome to whatever the hell I'm calling this. Basically just a look at some of my favourite decks that I've got built. So, we're kicking off with the first deck I ever built, Glissa, Herald of Predation, aka Glissa, barely know her. So, we have the commander. First things first, we look at what she does. She's a legendary creature with too many creature types. At the beginning of combat, I can either incubate 2 twice, which means getting 2 of these, and putting 2 1/1 counters on them. I can then pay 2 to turn them into creatures. Nothing noteworthy there. Or I can transform all my incubator tokens for free. Or Phyrexia I control gain first strike and death touch to end a turn, and Hello Eevee, she's here to help. So, one reason I really like this is that this third ability here, if you look at previous versions of Glissa, they have first strike death touch. You know, she, in this card, is lending her strength to Phyrexia as basically second in command of Vorinclex's forces, and the one that does the actual work while Vorinclex just runs around doing Vorinclex things. So, flavour-wise, pretty cool. Stat line isn't spectacular, 5 mana for a 3/5, but we can get away with it, I think. So, with the commander set aside, let's look at the 99. So, starting off then with creatures then. We have Venerated Rock Priest. Scary motherfucker, basically. This, at one point, won me a 1v1 commander game that the local store hosted. Just by targeting this guy 3 times or something. And on target, I was able to give someone else 3 poison counters, which just killed them. So, yeah, this primarily isn't the poison counter deck, but a lot of the creatures happen to have Toxic, just because it's Phyrexia and Kindred, and the options of Toxic are Infect, so Toxic is the lesser of 2 evils, which Phyrexia isn't. They're the greater of 2 evils, and you should respect them for it. So, Rock Priest. Skinny Aspirant, nice simple one. Whenever you proliferate, you gain life, everyone else loses life. Benefits proliferate, benefits the deck, benefits Phyrexia. So, Flesh Gorger. This is just in there as a fun one, to be honest. I mean, I haven't really cast it for its full cost yet, but even with the prototype cost, it's still good. You know, like, pay 3 life is a decent ward cost. And crucially, Menace and Lifelink means that I'm going to be gaining decent life by swinging with this guy. It's good no matter when you play it, with the inclusion in the deck. Couple long legs. It's a Phyrexian, basically. And it can proliferate, so it benefits El Deco. I call it Basilisk. It's a Phyrexian and it has Death Touch, so good to hold up as a blocker. Pestilent Siphoner, it's a flyer. It can deal some chip damage and some chip poison counters. Worm Coil Engine is just in there because it's a fun one, basically. Like, it's nice to just use the big boy every now. Just do something big every now and then. Black Belly Rat, your basic Phyrexian that proliferates. Skull Dweller, pretty much the same thing as a Basilisk. Glissa's Retriever, then, is an interesting one. Yes, it has Haste and Toxic 3, and it can't block by stuff, can't block by weaker stuff. Basically, the goal of this deck is to get opponents to 3 poison counters. My usual rule 0 for this is that if I'm proliferating, I don't proliferate past 3 counters. And anything else, any other poison counters are from things that directly give poison counters, or if I specifically choose to proliferate poison counters to deal with problem players. Anyway, the fun one, Breach the Multiverse. I get something for everyone, and they're all part of Phyrexia now, because that's how Phyrexia does. And just for good measure, Roaming Throne. For twice the Phyrexians per Phyrexian, because with these 2 on the board, I can either incubate 2 4 times, or I can hatch everything and give it first strike death touch. And Arthur's trying to nibble the tokens. Sir, please refrain. Very fun one. So, next up is a couple of quick tutors. Tooth and Nail. It's expensive, but solid late gameplay to get a bunch of stuff, basically. Just fetch, like, broadly speaking, it's going to be Rock Priest and what's his name? And Roaming Throne. It's just a fun one. Currently of Gix. This is likely in there just to read ahead. But yeah. The other modes might be useful. Basically, it depends on what kind of proliferate you got in your hand, because if you can slap it down and immediately get to the second stage through proliferate, there's no need to use read ahead. If you can't, you use read ahead. Beseech the Mirror, lucky pull basically. Yeah, this is, again, best target in the deck is Roaming Throne. We now have Eternal Witness, classic recursion piece, one of the few non-Phyrexians in here. Just, again, because recursion is a fun one. That Emergence, another recursion that also proliferates. The Natural Restoration with a gorgeous Jeremy Wilson art. Again, it brings something back and it proliferates. That Rebirth, a little bit slower, but it's nice to be able to get things back and have the threat of bringing back any big threats. Phyrexian Reclamation, again, it's useful to be able to bring things back. So when now come to the ramp, we have the basic stuff like Harrow. Blow up a land, get 2 basics. Contagious Vorak is sort of... Well, it's either fetch your land to hand or proliferate, so either way, it's a win for this deck. Expand the Sphere is Vorak but twice. You can fetch 2 lands to the battlefield tapped, you can proliferate twice, or you can get 1 of each. And here comes Eevee to cause trouble. So, Commander's Sphere, just because I have a nice printing of it. Arcane Signet, which I'm planning on replacing with a nicer artwork at some point. Cultivate, which already has the nicest artwork in my opinion. Again, fetch 2 basics, put 1 battlefield tap, 1 to hand shuffle. It's a staple for a reason. Everflowing Chalice, my absolute favourite mana rock for any decks that run decent at proliferate. Because it's ramp that ramps, basically. You multi-kicker 2, well, you basically put 1 charge counter on it for the multi-kicker, and then whenever you proliferate, it gets an additional charge counter, and it starts tapping for more and more mana. It's really good when it gets going. Soul Ring, it's a staple. I don't always run Soul Ring, but I do in this deck, just because it seems like a Soul Ring kind of a deck, and I am planning on upgrading this to the Secret Lair Sheldon Spellbook Soul Ring when I can, as soon as that arrives. So, on now to the Proliferate, Whisper of the Dross, slight debuff from Proliferate, Gulping Scrap Trap, ETB or Dies, Proliferate, nice fun one. Winding Constrictor, one of the few non-Phyrexians in the deck. But the important thing is that it hits creatures and artifacts. So when I proliferate, I can put 2 counters on all my incubators rather than just 1. Throne of Geth, you may already be familiar with this one. It's seen sort of fringe playing modern as a way of getting around Chalice of the Void. Cast this for 2, sack it to itself, proliferate, add another counter Chalice of the Void, and suddenly the Chalice checks for 3 rather than for the wrong size, basically. Very useful. So, Blood Contaminator. Whenever it does combat damage, proliferate. And it's also a 4/4 for 3, which is just useful. Or 4/4 trample for 3, which is just, useful. Glistening Sphere, enters tapped, proliferates. Other than that, it's a decent mana rock. It gets better when people are poisoned. Contaminant Grafter proliferates and also ramps, which and draws cards, which is fucking insane. Very good card once it's out, especially if you can get someone with 3 poison counters just with the corrupted effect. That's why I normally don't proliferate past 3. Evolution stage, land ETB, proliferate. Fun combo contaminant grafter right there. First swing routes, either fetch a basic to hand or proliferate. Either mode is pretty useful. Death Reap Ritual, whenever something dies. Well, basically it means you can draw cards during your opponent's turns, which can be rather useful if you can get everyone else fighting each other. If you're just killing stuff, you can just look at card draw. Nice and handy. Tableau Completion. It's card draw, but also mana rock. Again, it's basic, but it can get the necessary counters pretty quickly if you're proliferating. Fanacle Offering, sack an artifact or creature, which is going to be an incubator token, to draw 2, create a map. The map isn't the useful part, it's just a 2 mana draw 2. Wretched Confluence, this is the one that I was talking about earlier with Rot Priest, where I targeted Rot Priest with all 3 of the -2/-2s. Rot Priest's ability went on the stack. Pop, 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 3 poison, dead. Other than that, and it isn't even in there for that. It's in there for draw 3. It's in there as draw 3, lose 3 with 5 mana. But you can occasionally do other shenanigans with it. Village Rites. You can usually afford stack creatures to draw 2 cards with this deck. Ancient Craving. Draw 3, lose 3. Good enough. Infectious Inquiry, draw 2, lose 2, everyone gets a poison counter. It's standard, basically, black card draw. Phyrexian Arena, I mean, it's Phyrexia, what do you expect? Upkeep, draw cards, lose a life. It gets you more cards in hand. It's decent. Point of discussion. Draw 2, lose 2, blood token. Again, standard green card draw. Return the Wild Speaker. Another nice simple one. Usually, you're going to want to play it for the card draw, just because you're going to have, with the commander out, at least a 3/5. If you've been proliferating and hatched the incubators, you can get, I think the most I've gotten off this is 6, but I've had like 8 tokens before, and lots of them. It's very funny. Let's see, Meridian Avenged. Yeah, your basic blow up creature, draw a card. Play it on someone else's turn, get value. Abrupt Decay. Uncounterable, blow something up. Something cheap, but worth it. Infectious Bite. Again, everyone gets a poison counter. This one is fun if you play it in your second main and you've given away Phyrexian's first straight Death Touch, just because it just becomes destroy target creature at that point. But also use poison counters. Kindred Dominance. Yeah, 3 guesses as to what creature type I'm choosing. First 2 don't count. That's right, it's Elf. I did once choose Elf to save my commander and wipe my opponent's board because they were also running Phyrexians. It was great. So, I have Nature's Claim, blow up artifact or enchantment, control against 4 life. Nice standard. Frozen Grip, your basic blow up artifact or enchantment. EV's back. Aziri's Predation. I actually specifically updated this to a newer printing, but because earlier printings didn't mention that there were Phyrexian beast creature tokens. It's because as long as they're Phyrexians, they benefit from the commander and can get first strike Death Touch if they stick around long enough, which is not the most likely, but very fun when it does happen. Death Sprout. Destroy target creature, search your library for a basic land, put on the battlefield, tap, shuffle. It's removal that also ramps you. It's a very golgari card, it's great. Tanker Bloom. Nice and simple. Blow up artifact, blow up enchantment, proliferate. I run this in a few decks that I'm Phyrexian just because it's artifact enchantment removal for 2 mana. Well, 3 mana. It's decent, Drowning Ichor, another target creature potentially dies and also proliferate. Carnivorous Canopy, nice classic one. Kill something, maybe proliferate. Assassin's Trophy, one of the more recent additions to the deck. Your opponent gets a land out of it, but it's 2 mana and it blows up anything on their board. Reliable. Noxious Assault. This is, we're getting onto the win cons at this point. Noxious Assault basically means that my creatures get bigger. Whenever something blocks, its controller gets a poison counter. And if they don't block, they get hit by like an 8/8 or whatever that potentially has trample anyway. Not the best link on the deck, but one of the fun ones. Glorious Sunrise. You're basically going to use this to give trample. The other mobs aren't bad, but they're nowhere near useful enough. Unnatural Growth. This is one of the next cuts from the deck. I'll get to that in a moment. But for the time being, it's useful to just be able to double power and toughness of all my creatures. Garrett's Uprising, your standard card draw, give everything trample. Not many hits to draw from it, so it's just there for the trample. So, let's quickly talk about what's likely to be cut from the deck. At some point, I intend to cut Unnatural Growth here for Portal to Phyrexia, just because it's more on theme and it's just a very fun card. And then, where'd the snake go? Binding Constrictor, I'd like to cut for Doubling Season, which does the same thing but on enchantment and better, seeing as it doubles rather than adds one. And it also does Token Count, meaning that Glissa's first ability becomes Incubate 4 times, which is just insane. And when we throw it out, that becomes 8 times. So, you know, good fucking luck. So, yes, on now to the land base, which is, I'm the first to admit, fairly standard for Golgari, nothing interesting going on here. We have Overgrown Tomb, Path of Ancestry, Evolving Wild, Woodland Cemetery, Blooming Marsh, Deathcap Glade, Bajuka Bog, just for potentially shutting down opponent's graveyard plays. Rarely comes up useful, but it does. Underground Mortuary, Tainted Wood, Command Tower, Necroblossom Snarl, Golgari Rot Farm, Dark Ball Pathway / what's the green pathway again? Slitherball Pathway? Yeah, I started green pathways recently, it's the whole thing. Khan's Bastion, nice one for anything with Proliferate. Cavern of Souls, which, as you can see, is a rather lucky promo pull from Ixalan pre-release, the first one that I did. And then the basics, swamp. Forest. Yeah, so nothing too exciting with the mana base. Could do with an upgrade at some point, but I'm in no particular hurry to, you know? Yeah, so long-term goals, I want to add the fetch to this. I'm waiting until Modern Horizons 3 drops before doing anything like that, though, just because if I pull it there, I'll pull it there. That'd be pretty handy. Anyway, quick look at tokens that I keep with this one. 3 poison counters, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 incubator tokens. Not all of them matching. Most of them are the same art. I kind of wish I had more variety to them, if I'm being honest. Like, I only have one of this guy. And, yeah. And the 4/4 Beast, which I've meant to swap out for a small number of 4/4 Phyrexian Beast. We'll get there. Anyway. That has been a quick look at Glissa, Barely Noah. Very fun deck. Goal is to proliferate, build up a big army of incubator tokens, get them really big, and then hatch them. And once your opponents realise, they don't exile to hatch, which means they've been on the battlefield for a few turns already, and they're already swinging. Very fun when they realise that. Anyway, I'll see you all next week for... Let's do Heliod next, that one's fun.